Hello and welcome. I am Jess Campmans, guided by Equus, and I'm here with your week of November 16th Horse Wisdom Insights for the week. I'm joined by Bo and Mahina and Raven and Falcon and the rest of the herd. The mares are all eating, and these guys are part of this week's insights. What I wanted to share was something that actually was an experience of the month of the November 11/11 gateway video that I had done. And these guys all obviously have a lot to share around that. That video that I had done, I posted without doing too much checking in through it. Mostly because I was tired of listening to myself at that point. But part of that video was an experience with Bo where he had been, throughout the recording of the video, constantly biting at me and nipping me. And at one point, I reached over and used my arm to get some space. And he kind of went backwards. And as soon as I watched it, which a handful of people had already watched it, I was horrified that I hadn't edited that out. And then I realized, well, I can be ashamed or I can use it as a teachable moment. And so I conceded to have the courage to use it as a teachable moment rather than do what I had always done in the past, was be ashamed of what happened and go quiet, and not allow for the depth of the experience and the learning that was possible through it to be able to rise to the surface. And so the reason I went back to that video and finally watched it is because I realized that there was something in that video that I needed to reference. And then when I watched it all the way through and had witnessed myself in this action of anger and almost lashing out at Bo, he was actually inciting that for me, or invoking that in a way that I wasn't acknowledging. And then through him creating that space, kind of like what Mahina is doing right now, but because Bo's a colt, he was invoking it through his teeth and bringing out anger in a way that actually helped me get to the bottom of something that's really been holding me back for probably most of my life, and holding me back in being able to step forward into the greater experience and ability to share the wisdom of the horses. And within that releasing of that anger, and not that I hurt him, because I did nothing other than what his mom does when he uses her teeth on her a little bit too strongly during nursing, is she turns around and bites him. And so that's all what I was doing. But what it looked like to me kind of horrified me for how it was maybe being represented, or but part of this piece that I want to share was that in the last handful of weeks, I would say for much of the month of November and a good part of October, I had been feeling this sense of loss and sadness, and almost an apathy towards really even this work, the horses, life itself. And so when he ignited that spark of anger within me, I was actually moving that anger through me. And anger as an emotion is just as sacred as sadness and love, in that when it is allowed to be moved through us, by us, there's a deeper wisdom that results when we allow ourselves to express it in a way that is healthy. And lashing out at Bo without, following through on anything that was taking my anger out on him. I just asked him for some space. And he gave it to me after I asked him for that. And so it feels like the idea behind that is using anger as a tool to connect to that which is sacred within us. Because by allowing myself to move that anger, I was actually able to connect to this piece that has been holding me out on the sidelines, rather than really allowing myself to share the depth of this work that is horse wisdom by moving through the experience of it. And so part of what I also realized is, in order to be able to share these insights, I have to experience them for myself. And if I'm standing out on the sidelines, too afraid to engage in an experience because it might be the wrong one, or for fear of how someone interprets it, then I'm actually not fulfilling my purpose and quote unquote doing my job here. So I hope that kind of makes sense and offers some wisdom, that if you've been feeling these emotions of sadness, loss, or grief or anger in the last couple weeks, that there is a deeper message for you. And when you are able to channel that, rather than hold it inside of yourself for fear of letting it come out and unleash itself, and here's Bo right here, you actually get to the depth of the knowledge and the wisdom that exists within you that you had stowed away for fear of you becoming too vulnerable with it, I guess is the best words. And so Bo's soul wisdom actually is the word Promethean. And that word itself means to boldly imagine or boldly go with courage and create. And I couldn't boldly go with courage and create if I was holding myself back for fear of being judged by someone else, or for holding that idea around being ashamed of all of the ways I've gotten to be able to communicate with these horses and understand what it is that they're sharing and showing me, which includes many horrific moments that I've been through with them, but that's part of my story. And so if I'm ashamed of those moments and sometimes how my emotions come through, the horses aren't ashamed of them. Noche wasn't ashamed to buck me off when I wasn't listening and scarred up my face this spring. The horses themselves aren't ashamed if someone's invading their space, they move to send that horse to create space for themselves in a way that allows them to feel good and grounded in that space, and then they move on. And so it's not holding on to anything, but instead moving it through to be able to connect to the wisdom within the experience in that moment. So I hope this all not only makes sense, but maybe allows you to connect to a piece of wisdom within your own life, that by allowing yourself to experience an emotion that's been trying to arise or surface from within you, that there is a deeper message, that once you allow yourself to experience that emotion, you will get to uncover the deeper message or the meaning of what your experience has offered or guided you into. And that feels like Bo's wisdom, soul wisdom of the idea of Promethean, boldly creating and being inspired to imagine and reinvent something in a way that is creative, that is unleashing our own ability to create not only something but our lives. And so it's this idea of allowing ourselves to move through what it is that we're feeling without projecting it onto someone else or taking it out on someone else, is actually healthy. And so again, what my experience of Bo invoking that release of anger within me actually helped me uncover the shame I was holding around all of this and my life's experiences, and the hardships that I faced through and with these horses that were actually disguised as beautiful blessings. And so there is a beautiful blessing that awaits you. In Beau's curiosity with Dasha. And Beau is bold in his actions. He always has been since he was born. Down, Dash. And part of that boldness is what is needed for us to be able to take that leap of faith and reach into our future and create it by leaving behind and letting go of those things that are holding us back, or a sense of apathy, of not knowing how to do it for fear that we will be judged by someone else, or for being ashamed of how it is that we do something because, again, it might be judged by someone else, or a fear of doing it our way because we have felt the need to please others, and in doing so we hold ourselves back from doing that very thing that we love. So I hope with all of this it has given you a little bit of insight into your own life this week, and much love from myself and Beau and Mahina and all of the horses here. Magic. Who's that? Falcon and Raven, and the mares on the other side. So take care, and I would love to hear your own insights around this. So if you feel called to comment or share, please, I encourage you to do so. Stay tuned for more horse wisdom insights from Guided by Equus.